actually a really interesting conversation that happened recently and really the meat of what we're going to talk about today. So GaryVee this week jumped onto the Luka Tiger LeBron podcast. It's actually a podcast that I've done as well. Those guys are amazing.
They're awesome.
Yeah, so really like Luke and then Andrew as well. So, but what I want to talk about that, Gary talks about 2016 going back, earlier days of the hobby. And I use this loosely because obviously the hobby's been around way longer, but in the time Gary's been talking about it, he talked about how the hobby was really about hobby people and the enjoyment of the hobby. And over the last few years, it's turned into a major business or an industry, and it's lost the hobby appeal. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and how you feel about like how it's morphed, because you owned a shop back in 2003, got back into it. Like, where are you at on that?
Me owning the card shop like I did back in 2003, that was one of the first businesses I ever had. And the reason that I got into that was mainly because I just enjoyed sports cards. I enjoyed collecting. I collected as a young kid, and the opportunity to own a sports store was almost like, my dream job, to have. And so I got into that business, and within 4 or 5 years of being in that business, it turned into a business, a company, and it wasn't fun anymore. I didn't enjoy coming in and doing, the store. And so I totally understand the comments that Gary made. When something is no longer fun and it just turns straight into a business, a lot of people start moving out. And so that's what I did with my store. I sold my store because it wasn't fun anymore. And for me now, I've enjoyed sports. I love sports. I love football. I'm a big football fanatic guy. But with the investment side and the way these prices are going for some of this stuff, it makes 0 sense for me to continue to dump money into some of those particular players and buy that stuff. So now for me, it's strictly I buy what I like.
Sure.
I buy what I love, which is Peyton Manning's. Big Peyton Manning fan. And, I like Jordan and things along those lines, and I'll pick up the cards that I like on those players, but I am no longer approaching this as an investment and sitting on them like I would my stocks or real estate or anything along those lines. There's too much, in my opinion, too much manipulation to the hobby when it comes to some of those players. Just like we were talking earlier. What'd you say, $33,000?
$33,500
for a Zach Wilson.
Yeah. Yep. National Treasure's number 2.
Why?
Too many people with too much money. I mean,
why?
Yeah.
And the thing with that is the people who invest in that card, when other cards like that come into the market, they're going to drive the prices up because they want to try to keep that. And at what point does that particular high-end market take a hit because those players are tired of pumping those prices?
Yeah.
And that's what's going on. 100%, I know that for a fact. That's what's going on. And so anybody who's paying those particular prices or trying to bid in these auctions against these people who are just driving the price up, just get ready. You're going to pay a record-breaking price. If you notice, everywhere that gets posted, it's a new record-breaking.
Sure.
It's because the people who own those cards are driving the prices up and forcing the other people to buy them. And I've had it happen to me.
Now, are you talking about shill bidding, or are you talking about they legitimately are?
They're going to place a bid on an item that they know they don't want that thing to go below. Not that shill bidding, because if they win it, they'll just buy it back.
Got it.
Maybe they're even using it as a platform of, I'm going to run the price to $100,000. And if somebody doesn't, and what I'll do is I'll get my buddy to run it to $100,000 too, and I'll just buy the card back again at $100,000. So it sets a new price,
so setting a floor,
set a new watermark price.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's what I believe is happening in a lot of the hobby. And the reason I say I had it happen to me, it cost me $60,000.
Gotcha.
I overpaid for a card by $60,000.
Got it. Okay. So we're talking about setting a watermark. We're not talking about fake shill bidding.
No.
I'm
I'm saying they're going to pay for the auctions.
Sure. Got it.
But they're just using it to funnel and run those prices up to keep those prices high.
Gotcha.
So that way it looks like we got all these new record-breaking pricing, and the auctions are getting paid for.
Mm-hmm.
But these new record-breaking pricings are just being rebought back by the people who are running the deadgum thing. And at some point, they're going to want to exit out of that. Mm-hmm. And when they exit out, they'll exit out at a high amount, more than what they paid for it. But then the next person, when he goes to sell it or she goes to sell it, now that price is going to drop.
Because they're not in there.
Because they're not in there
the
driving that
up.
price up. Yep. That's exactly what I feel is being
Got it.
Being
So you feel like they're driving, and then at some point they're going to release it onto someone that's unexpecting, who's then going to take all the hit.
And they're going to take the hit.
Gotcha.
That's just my belief of what's going on in the hobby.
Yeah.
And that's what's got me on the turn off for the investment side of it. And I'm more focused on what I like and the things that I want to put up.
So that goes directly into what Gary was talking about, which is that 2 years ago, people were having a lot of fun in the hobby. Mm-hmm. And it seems like now there's less people having fun, right? And I want to say this with one convoluted piece, which is that a lot of people were having fun because they were just making money hand over fist, right? And that's somewhat slowed down. You're not seeing such wild price swings. But do you feel, even in your own sense, that you're not having as much fun in the hobby as what you had 2 years ago?
No, I'm not. And because I know the manipulation that's being taken, that's taking place. It's the same way with the crooks who want to, trim cards and make fake cards, and all of that falls in the same category. Yeah. The people who are running the prices up are just as deadgum crooked as the people who are trimming cards, and that is just my belief in this whole entire hobby, and it's completely turned me off to a lot of things. So no, I'm going to buy what I like. Mm-hmm. And I could give a shit about anything else. Yeah.
Do you find that more people are hating on other people right now in the hobby too? Do you feel like as the enjoyment has calmed a little bit, that there's more like back and forth hatred, poking at people?
A lot of that goes on.
Do you feel like that's increased recently? Recent's a relative term. 6 months, 12 months.
Yeah. I mean, it has. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people. And there's so many people in the hobby that want to put others down when they're trying to be successful with something to try to make themselves look better.
Yeah.
And if that's a terrible way to do it. I've always, said in business, we will never step on somebody to get ahead. Mm-hmm. We're going to make sure we do things right. And these people who are out there just constantly, putting people down, being haters, blasting them for different stuff. I mean, realistically, a good business person, if you address something with them, they're going to help you through the process. Sure. So there's a lot of hate that goes on that's out there, and that's a big turnoff too.
Fair.
But back to the card stuff. I mean, I'll ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Explain to me if it's not happening, if the prices are not being run up and not being manipulated, give me a reason that John Morant, Anthony Edwards, we'll even throw Luka in there. Those guys, tell me why their card prices are 6 figures in some areas.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I don't disagree with you on that, right? I understand why you've seen some increase in some of it, but I understand that the value of their cards clearly outweighs their career, achievements and stuff like that right now.
Justin Herbert.
I'm with you 100%.
It's crazy.